Have you ever noticed that when people start their live videos, most often they start with, "Hey guys!" So I was determined not to start my video saying, "Hey guys," but it's really hard to come up with how you just jump into, your topic. So this is supposed to be my why video, and as I prepared it, I realized that it turned into more of a why not video. And so I'm going to backtrack a little before I tell you my why, and to give you a little background how I actually even got there. I'm not using my good lights today, so I may be looking a little older than I normally look on here. This is terrible. But anyways, back in 2012, I called that my year from hell. And a lot of things went wrong that year. It started off with an IRS audit, and as you know, those are very, very stressful. We've been in business for ourselves for a long time, and my husband is not the kind that keeps track of things well, and I'm his kind of bookkeeper, and I can either argue with him all the time or I can just do the best I can with what he gives me, and that is what I do. And I always pray that I don't get audited, but that year we get a letter, "You're going to be audited," and I'm like, oh my goodness, could life be worse? And it really was a nightmare. Not only do they ask you so many questions, like how often do you get your hair done? They ask everything that you could not even imagine. It's so invasive, the questions that they ask you. And then they had to come to my house a couple times because we claimed a home office. The whole thing was extremely stressful. I was also working at a Christian school startup at the time, and I can't even tell you the stress that went with that job. So at the beginning of the year, I turned in my resignation, the principal turned in her resignation, and the headmaster turned in his resignation. So that just tells you how stressful the year was. So I had the stress of the job, the stress of an audit, and then my husband started having some heart problems. So he went on heart medication, and he had a reaction to the heart medication. So on Memorial Day, he literally collapsed in my house. I was glad my son Michael was there, who's a police officer who had his wits about him, and we had to call an ambulance. He got rushed to the hospital, and basically it's a miracle that he even survived. That was Memorial Day weekend. So my stress level was already like way past normal. And then most of you anyway, know that then the accident happened on the 4th of July. And I should mention that also during this time, my son Ryan was in selection for Special Forces, which means he's out there being pushed to the max. I mean, what these guys go through to make Special Forces is unbelievable. And as a mom, knowing my child's out there, I mean, literally eating bugs to survive, that was stressful. Well, when the 4th of July rolled around, Ryan, he had already been in selection. He was in language school. Things were already stressful. And then the accident happened. And most of you know that, but a few of you don't. We were celebrating the 4th of July out at the lake, and my grandson, Nate, Kelly's son, and his really good friend, they died while swimming off the side of our boat. And they were electrocuted, and my granddaughter was electrocuted, and my husband and I both jumped in the water to try to save the boys, and we were electrocuted. So when I tell you that was the year from hell, I am not being dramatic. You're just trying to, at that point, you're in survival mode. And just like 2 months later in September, now comes the next holiday, Labor Day, and we all went camping, and we're just trying to breathe. We're just trying to survive. And Tessa and the kids were all playing in the water, where there was a whole group of us, and I don't know what happened, but she got caught up in the current, and we all stood there on the side watching what we thought was going to be another tragedy. I believe it's a miracle too that she even survived that, but that just like one more stress added to it. So the whole year was just one thing after another. So I would say that my body was really in a compromised state anyways. Emotionally, I was in counseling, I was crying all the time. And that's to be expected. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not going to ever at any point say, oh, have a miracle and take an oil. This is going to make everything better. When you have that much stress going on in your life, your body's just in survival mode. So I'm just laying the foundation of where I was before I was introduced to oils. The next year, I did end up, I stayed one more year at that job just because that was like our normal after the accident. The kids went back to school and I stayed working at the school for the next year. And then I did end up quitting because I felt like God had called me to write a book. So the next year, 2013, I spent at this little cabin that God had blessed me with in the woods and wrote a book. And now that was, in some ways, it was a very healing time, but it's also a very stressful time because you're putting yourself out there. You're taking a big risk. So my body's really not in recovery mode yet. You know, I'm still just hanging in there. And also in 2013, we had to face a lot of legal stuff because of that accident, because it happened at our boat. So we had a whole year of stress and financial pressure. Comes 2014, and we feel like maybe we're digging ourselves out a little bit, but my husband's heart is still not great, and he ends up having to have a pacemaker, and we end up having a horrible year financially. It is just the worst we'd had. I mean, literally, I went and looked at my income tax statement today so that I didn't feel like I was lying, and our income on the bottom that we had to pay taxes on was $10,500. That is way, way, way below poverty level. Needless to say, we had burned through all of our savings that year just trying to keep our heads above water. So at December of 2014, I just was in a weepy mode. I mean, and it's to be expected. I mean, we had been through so much in 2 years, and Christmas was upon us. Kelly was deathly ill. I shouldn't say deathly. Maybe not that bad, but you feel that way. When you have that cold and the crud and everything going on, you feel like you're never going to get over it. That's where Kelly was. And Dr. Edie, she showed up at our house knowing we were both in really, really bad places, and she gave me a bottle of joy oil, and she gave Kelly thieves and whatever. I'm sure Kelly tells in her story. And as we were talking to her, you know, she's high energy and she's positive and she's upbeat, and you know, even if you're having a bad day, it's hard to stay having a bad day when Edie shows up. And so, you know, we began sharing a little bit. She was telling us about the oils and how they were affecting her. And so she just asked me this, you know, this flippant question. She's like, hey, do you want to do the oil business? And honestly, I didn't take the time to say, well, let me think about my why. I said, why not? I need a job. I mean, we have no money. Our bank account is empty. You know, I'm just in a bad place. So yes, it was exciting that, oh, Edie, I mean, I felt like, how could I possibly fail if I joined with Edie? Because I think Edie's like Midas, you know, like whatever she touches is going to turn to gold because she has a heart of gold, and that's just the way it is. And so I'm like, okay, why not? I'll do it. So, you know, when I think back, like when I was asked to work at the school, I really went after the why. I pleaded with God. I was not going to take a job. I didn't need a job. I didn't need the money. I didn't want the stress. I had been a homeschool mom for years and years. So I was like, I am not doing this unless God gives me a why. And he did. And so that's when I went to work at the school. But with the oils, I didn't stop to ask why. I literally said, why not? So just right there on the spot, you know, I threw her $200, and you've heard that before, and she took my $200 and she left, and then she's like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. You have to give me your, you know, your charge card number and all that. But anyways, I was doing oils. We didn't even know what doing oils meant. Edie didn't even know what doing oils meant. There was no sisterhood. There was no archives for us to go to. There were no boot camps up and running. I mean, but we were doing oils. So we put our first oils in, you know, our orders in, we got our oils, and, you know, and then what? That was not paying my bills. I mean, I might have been happier because I was diffusing joy and I had an arsenal, you know, there if I wanted something, you know, if I had a cold or whatever. But that money didn't just start rolling in. And I'm the kind of person, I am not going to sell something that I don't 100% believe in. But if I 100% believe in something, I mean, you can ask people how many use the olive oil that I like, because I tell everybody, because I believe it and I can get behind it. Well, I didn't have a lot of ailments, so it took me a long time to decide what I loved about the oils and how they were going to help me and all that. So, you know, I was doing oils but not making any money. So I took on a few more part-time jobs. At one point I had 7 part-time jobs because we needed the money. And, you know, that probably slowed me down a little bit on the oils, but I don't know, because I'm also the kind of person that I just don't believe in big things for me. I believe in them for other people and I can get behind it, but I just didn't believe that, oh my goodness, these oils are really going to change my financial life and I'm going to have financial freedom. I was just happy to get some oils because I love learning new things. I'm a little crunchy anyways. It was just going to be an exciting adventure for me. And maybe if I made some money, you know, Edie was making money, maybe I would make some money too. Let me see. I actually wrote notes, which is really a big switch for me. Okay. So now, today, you know, 3 years later, I'm pushing it next year. Who knows what I'll be next year. But 3 years later, I do have a little bit different why than I did when I started. So you know, maybe y'all are here saying, I don't even know what I'm here for. I'm hoping that what I tell you next is going to inspire you. And I really doubt that I'm ever going to be able to get through this without crying. To make it worse, as I'm sharing hard things with you, we have a dear friend who lost a child today. So when you bring up emotions that you've lived through, you know, everybody can feel compassion for somebody who's gone through something terrible. But if you haven't gone through that terrible, you don't have that same depth of emotion. You know, so today I'm in a very emotional spot anyway, so I knew this video was going to be tough. But on Christmas Eve, I went to see a movie. I rarely go to the movies, and it was The Greatest Showman. And if I could ever tell anybody to go to a movie with 100% confidence that they're going to love it, this is the movie. And it's a movie that really needs to be seen on the big screen. If you can get it in before it goes away, go to see this movie. But the songs of that movie are amazing. And I know that most of, you know, my daughters have had this on repeat, and I've started to listen to this song over and over again. And I'm going to share some of the lyrics of this song and try to do it without just being a blubbering mess. If I could sing like Candace, I'd sing it for you, but yeah, that would not inspire any of you. You'd probably all shut off my video. But here we go. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams, here I go, are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. I wish someone was behind me so they could do this for me. A million dreams is all it's going to take. A million dreams for the world we're going to make. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's going to take. A million dreams for the world we're going to make. And that's what I want all our whys to be. I didn't always dream big. I had that spirit of poverty upon me. I didn't believe that I could have financial freedom. And yet I always was a big dreamer. I would lie awake at night just wanting more. Just wanting more, to want to be able to give more and to be more and to experience more. And now for once, I feel like I'm at that place in my life where I can do that. And I want that for all of you. I want that. And it's possible. I didn't believe it was possible for me. And so again, I mean, what I'm going to end with is, why not? yes, you may know your why, but why not? Why not me? Why not you? Why not our team? I mean, why can't we be the ones that dream big and change the world?